Hello and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for March of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening for you in March. Well, Libra, let's start with Ceres and then move on to Juno. Ceres is traveling along through your own sign right now. And if you checked your last month's horoscope, you probably know that. Ceres is about all things physical. She's very grounded, very practical, very much about being in our bodies and eating well and living a good life of the body and being financially solvent and organized. However, the bad news is she's retrograde, and she's going to be retrograde for a couple more months. And when that happens, those things, those routines that we've set up, maybe even carefully crafted, that where we manage our money and we pay attention to our diet and we take good care of our bodies, it may be that those routines have fallen apart over time, and it's a retrograde series that shows us the error of our ways. Because this series is landing in your first house, this could feel quite personal for you. It might feel very physical for you. It might be in terms of your own body's health, and feel like, you know, there's some deferred maintenance perhaps on your own physical self. Another thought that I often have when I think about Ceres in Libra is that I think that Ceres in Libra sometimes forgets about comfort in the pursuit of beauty. And that can take so many forms. You know, it can have to do with wearing clothes that don't really fit just because they look great on you, but you don't feel comfortable in them. Maybe they're too restrictive or they cut in the wrong places. Maybe shoes that don't fit. Or, you know, trying to lose weight too fast, or, you know, trying to sculpt your body when really your lifestyle isn't arranged for that, or trying to meet some standard of beauty that, that just, you know, your body is just never going to attain, and thus disappointing yourself over and over again, instead of getting with the reality of how beautiful your body is just the way it is. And so there may be some things about that coming down the pike towards you, Libra. So as I said before, Ceres is retrograde for a couple of months. She's going to go direct in the beginning of May. And until then, it's going to be all about the rebalancing. And we'll say more about it as it goes on. The other asteroid goddess on my mind right now is Juno. She's traveling along through your seventh house, which is terrific. Juno loves to be in the seventh house. She can make you so much more relatable, personable, friendly, social, warm, and can help you to network and connect with other people. And so it's a pretty great transit. The only challenge to it is that Juno in Aries might make you or the people that you encounter a little bit too blunt, a little bit too straightforward, not polished enough. So just consider that in your social interactions. Hey, Julia, what's up with Venus, Mercury, and Mars for the Librans of the world?
Well, Libra, the month starts out quite lovely with Venus in your seventh house. Venus, of course, is your ruling planet, the planet of beauty and relationships, things that are very near and dear to you. And having her in the seventh is just a wonderful time in your relationship, or in any way that you are part of like a partnership with people in general, whether it's a business partner or a best friend too. And this transit can bring some harmony, a little bit of luck, a little bit of pleasure. into this area of your life, which is wonderful. And if you're single, then it's definitely a great time to get out there and meet new people. Then by March 16th, Venus enters your 8th house. She's going to be there for the rest of the month. And this house is represents your partner's income. It's also a house of shared money in general, whether that's shared with your family, either through an inheritance or from investments and stocks and mortgages, taxes too. So with Venus in the 8th for the second half of the month, maybe what happens is your partner gets a raise and shares it with you in some way, or maybe some money comes through to you through the family, or maybe, with tax season, you get a return that, that gives you a little more money than you realized. So it's a great transit for that. And it's also, since the 8th house is such a sexual and intimate house, a wonderful time for bonding with your partner even more deeply on those levels. Then we have Mercury.
Julia?
Yeah.
Hey, Julia, do you mind if I throw something in here?
Please do.
I forgot to mention that Juno moves into the 8th house too.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah,
important.
Juno starts the month in the 7th house, as I talked about. And then here on the 11th, it moves on into the 8th house. And so it begins that, that relational intimacy theme. And then when Venus joins Juno, a couple days later, a week later, then that theme is really doubled up on. And so it's a particularly good month for, talking with your partner about some of the more delicate things in life, like, how's our sex life going? Could we do something to make it better? How's our financial life together going? Should we sit down with, all of those spreadsheets and stuff and figure something out together? And I think with the addition of Venus, it's just going to make those conversations a little bit sweeter.
I think that was very important to add in there with Juno, definitely. And let's look at Mercury, the planet that represents your mind. Wherever we have Mercury is where we expend a lot of mental energy, where we might have an increase in communication that month, for that part of the month. And Mercury only spends the first day of March in your 5th house, the house of children. So if you have any, maybe you're connecting a lot more with them, or maybe you're even thinking about children if you're inclined. Then by March 2nd, Mercury enters your 6th house. This is a house of organization and work. And those are things that Mercury really likes to do. Especially it's a wonderful time for really engaging with your job through your mind, maybe having an increase in communications with the people you work with. And it's a terrific spring cleaning transit because your mind is really primed to be a lot more organized. So, it's good for any type of organization in the home or even in the workspace. And then by March 18th, just as Venus leaves the 7th house, Mercury enters there. So a lot of 7th house activity for you this month, meaning, focus on your relationship. And with Mercury in the 7th, this could be a time where you're thinking a lot about your relationship, or you're communicating a lot with your partner. Maybe you're enjoying more conversations, more texts, just sort of more connection together. Mercury in the 7th house can be great if you need to hire a contractor, to think out some ideas, maybe a marketing manager, or maybe a lawyer or a doctor, for example. And then finally, really good news on Mars, a planet that can represent conflict, represent strife, but also wherever we have him is where we can be driven. And Mars has been in your 9th house for a very long time, since last fall. And that's because he did a whole retrograde cycle in this house, and he will be moving out by the end of the month. So the 9th house represents travel. It represents education. It also represents law, legal issues too. So with Mars in this 9th for the last few months, you may have run into conflict at school if you're still a student. Maybe travel has been extra frustrating. It also could be a time where if you are involved in any legal issues, they may have been a lot more trouble than they're worth. Maybe you got some speeding tickets and it brought your insurance up, for example. But by March 21st, 25th, Mars is going to enter your 10th house for the last week of the month. And the 10th house is a house of career. It's a house of authority figures. So by the last week of the month, you're going to be really, really focused on your job and, really, really driven by it, motivated by it too, which is definitely the higher manifestation of this transit. Since Mars can be a little bit edgy, you might be running into some flare-ups with people you work with, with this transit, especially authority figures in your life. So that could be a boss, a teacher, even a parent, who basically anybody who tells you what to do. So make sure to take a deep breath and count to 10 before you feel like speaking back to your boss by the end of the month.
Yep, afraid so. So we've got 2 moons and a seasonal change to report now. March 7th, we've got the full moon in Virgo right here in your 12th house, opposite Sun in Pisces. We're calling this moon Shape and Mold in Your Quirky Way. That's the very Virgo nature of this moon, liking to organize and tidy and shape and mold and make things a little bit more perfect all the time. Moon has a lovely trine to Uranus. That's the quirky part, but also a lovely sextile to Pallas Athena. A little bit hard to see in this view, easier to see in this view. And this moon is sitting there in your 12th house. So it may be a moon in which you are experiencing some emotional sensitivity and some need for retreat and withdrawal and pulling inward, to be by yourself so that you don't have to carry the weight of other people's emotions, which might be irritating to you and also even give you some upset stomachs, shall we say, and break up your sleep. Now, this moon has some stress in the form of a square to Mars, which definitely ups the irritation factor. So we need to watch out for that. And you may also find that there's a part of this moon that that is connected with your workplace, because the sun sits over here in the 6th house of work, opposite that moon. And so you may feel that you need to withdraw because of something that happened in your workplace. And I think it's really important to take that kind of time apart and by oneself when it's needed. Okay, now we have the seasonal change, which is the equinox. And here's the sun finishing out Pisces and your 6th house and moving on into Aries, which it actually does on the 20th. In fact, let me just make this earlier by a couple of hours, and then you can see that there. So the equinox, of course, being the beginning of Aries and the beginning of the whole zodiac, is a time of so much energy rising and freshness and zest for life. It is force of spring in its purest form. This sun begins to light up your 7th house. And we know that wherever the sun goes, you want to bring the sunlight of your high quality attention so that things can really grow and expand there under the light of your attention. And this is the house of partnership. And there's nothing really, Libra, that you enjoy more than putting your attention into your partnership. So this is pretty nifty. I would say you might have to watch out for putting too much attention on your partner for the 30 days of this solar passage through Aries along your 7th house, and maybe not enough attention on yourself. But other than that, I think when the sun moves through your 7th house, which it does on a yearly basis in spring, I think it's pretty enjoyable for you. And there's lots of energy for it. Now, on the 21st, and you can see it happening here already, the sun and the moon form a conjunction, and that's a new moon. This one is a new moon in Aries. It's the first new moon of the year, happening right after the equinox. We're calling it Clear Your Head and Begin Your Expedition. There is very much of an exploratory, adventurous, and driven quality to the new moon in Aries. And it really emphasizes that feeling of freshness and newness that comes at the equinox anyway. And then we have the presence of Mercury here with this moon. And so that's the clear your head part. This Mercury might really be ready to speak his mind and say whatever he needs to say to get it off of his chest in order to begin that expedition. Now, this moon has quite a bit of stress. It opposes Ceres, it squares Mars, so there are definitely causes for irritation. However, it's a really great moon for beginning something big and lasting, and it has wonderful support from Pluto right over here via a sextile. If you want to understand these moons more and how they affect you, you should definitely check out our forecast page at our website, pandoraastrology.com, where you can see the videos about these moons and much, much more.
If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
Horoscopes are fun, but they're also really general. If you want to explore this month's themes more personally, we'd love to meet with you in a real live reading where you can gain powerful insights and learn what you need to make the big decisions in your career, family, or relationship. You'll find the link in the description below. Enjoy this beautiful springtime, and until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.